This mutation is called Attrition Warfare, and it is being played on Void Thrashing. We have two mutators active. We have Diffusion, and we have Minesweeper. So, not terrible, I would say, as a set of mutators, but it can be very, very annoying to deal with, especially because Diffusion, it has two effects. One is that it can get very, very laggy if you're playing a commander like Stukov that has a lot of units that's being generated. But the other thing that happens with Diffusion as well is it does mean that the amount of damage output that gets sent out, it does spread among all your units, so you can end up taking some unnecessary damage on your units. Over here we have Artanis and we have Nova. They should be able to handle Diffusion without too many problems as long as they maintain enough range over here. So you can see here that there are a bunch of Widow Mines that are there, and that ends up nuking Nova's SCV, which is somewhat unfortunate. Nova will have to try and find a way of dealing with that in the early stages of the game. So usually what will happen, oof, indeed. What will usually happen here is you'll probably want to build a command center a little bit closer to the expo, but not really go down there. So we'll see if Nova's going to try and sneak in. Yeah, there we go. So probably going to end up putting down a command center somewhere. Not really sure what the plan is. Yeah, it's much better to just put down the command center up here and then wait for Nova to come out, and then you can end up cleaning up that side. So there were a bunch of Spire Mines that did spawn as well, so those ones have been cleaned up through the SCV. The other thing to note is that the Minesweeper mutator actually spawns a bunch of Widow Mines and a bunch of Spire Mines in patches. It does not spread them randomly across the map, and it's not evenly distributed around the map. The patches exist as sole little areas where you will see. I'm going to try and show you that during the course of the mission, but they're not evenly spread like magnificent mag mines are on the mission. There are little patches and fields of these mines, and they're usually made up of a certain number of Widow Mines and a certain number of Spire Mines. If you are interested, you can go to the Mutators page on Starcraft2coop.com. There is an image over there to give you an example of what one of these fields look like. So the Marines have been dropped now, and they will be starting to clear these expansion rocks over here. And Artanis on the side has already taken this expansion. He was a little bit lucky in the sense that those mines did not spawn too close to his base. Nova drops a sabotage drone over here. You can see a bunch of mines over here. This will be able to take up that side, and now Nova goes forward and ends up cleaning up this attack. Where you can see over here we have another minefield that has to be addressed with. These Spire Mines are the ones that are probably the scariest parts of them all. Everything else can be dealt with here. Artanis is going to send a bunch of Dragoons to go and help. You just have to be a little bit careful. There is one last Spire Mine on this side, so he's going to try and take that out. Snipe comes out on Nova, and that area has been cleared. And you can see there's another bunch of Spire Mines on here. Nova's just going to drop a sabotage drone, and you can kind of see what these minefields look like. You can see that there are a bunch of Widow Mines here, and a bunch of Spire Mines as well. So that's basically one minefield. It comes up in this kind of circle. And the Nova Sabotage Drone actually works really well with Minesweeper because it does have, it's large enough, its damage area is just large enough to cover an entire minefield. And combined with the fact that on this mutation that you're dealing with Diffusion, having that extra range on the Sabotage Drone where you can just put it down and just walk away, it does mean that you can reduce the amount of damage output on your army. So over here, Artanis does end up getting smoked by a large number of these Widow Mines here. He's in the red at the moment, and now there's another sabotage drone that gets dropped. And the sabotage drone is going down. Unfortunately, Artanis decides to go forward, or move forward a little bit. And, yeah, that is, he does end up losing a few Dragoons in the process. Now this next area is ready now for the picking, and we'll have to try and deal with it. There's a scan here that comes down from Amon, because Amon is a cheater. There's Nova here. Sabotage drone comes down. Not sabotage drone. Defensive drone comes down to keep Nova alive. Nova moves forward. She has to be very, very careful with these minefields. These minefields will one-shot her if she decides to be a little bit too aggressive. You can see here there are a lot of mines over here. And, yeah, personally, like I think it can get very, very tricky to go ahead and deal with all of this. Artanis is starting to attack through he has gotten his Singularity charge upgrade, which increases the range of his Dragoons. As you can see here, on the mines. It drops off the Sabotage Drone down here. Sabotage Drone will be okay. And you can see the difficulty that Artanis is having in clearing this because of the Diffusion Mutator. Diffusion spreads this damage across all the units in that area, and that does make it a little bit tricky when you are trying to do single target damage. So having Nova's Sabotage Drone come out, it just makes it so much easier. A few snipes come down here. Again, Artanis is starting to slowly hammer away on the minefields here, and Nova drops down the Sabotage Drone here as well, just to start clearing the site. So we'll wait for Nova to use the airstrike, bring the map up again. And the airstrike has taken off a large number of the mines at this minefield here, and it's also dealt with the attack wave. Now the commanders are ready to push into the next site. So again, there are a bunch of observers here to provide Artanis with a little bit of vision. And Artanis, I believe, wants to try and push into this last Void Thrasher area. So this is a strategy that is normally used by speedrunners, rather than... there's another airstrike coming down here just to start softening the base here. But usually you will see this, this is a very typical strategy for a speedrunner. They prefer to push into this final base first, after this Void Thrasher, and the reason being is that as the mission progresses, enemy units get stronger and stronger, so it's much easier to push into a softer base and a weaker base than it is to push into this final base here. So getting this base out of the way and spawning Void Thrashers early, you're dealing with these high-tech units, but they don't have as much kick to them. So that is basically the reasoning behind this. So now we have another bunch of Liberators now that are ready. Nova's airstrike is good to go. Airstrike comes down, and that should pretty much wipe out a good chunk of this attack wave. Whatever's left will be getting cleaned up by Nova's army over here, and that is all good. And over here, Artanis is slowly pushing in. He has cleaned up the hybrid, but do remember that Diffusion is active, so it does deal damage to Artanis' army as well in the process. So he's going to warp in another bunch of Dragoons, and then he's good to go. Nova's still harassing this side, just slowly starting to push in and weaken these enemy forces. There is a defensive drone that comes down, and some snipes from Nova as well. And remember, Nova has to be very careful with how she chooses to engage these forces. Secret Missile does come down because these units all have their defensive drone buffs alive. Because one hit with a mine, one wrong move with a mine, and that can cause a... it can just be a devastating hit for Nova here. The Spire Mines will instantly one-shot all the Marines. So, another defensive Sabotage Drone coming down here. And Artanis, on the other hand, has cleaned up these two Void Thrashers now. Nova is on here. He should be putting these Void Thrashers over here. And that Void Thrasher ends up going down. There's a little bit more that Artanis has to clear. And remember, these mines, again, they are anti-ground, so... having just charging in with an A move is going to be a very, very deadly mistake to be made for Artanis. But this area has been cleaned now. Thor goes down. A few more Goliaths left, and we're going to clean that out now. And now the Void Thrasher is left, so the Liberators re-siege up, and now they'll be able to clean up that with that Void Thrasher. The Secret Missile comes down onto that Dragoon. Does get got out by the Secret Missile as well as the Void Thrasher attack. This area will essentially be cleared. Some of the Dragoons do decide to push in a little bit, but there is another minefield here, so Artanis will have to clean up that side. That Thrasher gets killed off by the Liberators here. And notice that Nova hasn't used the Marines because the Marines are a little bit too close. You do not want the Marines fighting the Void Thrasher while the Liberators are dealing damage to the Void Thrasher, because Liberator damage will get spread among the Marines, dealing less damage to the Void Thrasher, and it will actually end up killing off the Marines as well. So that is something else to also take into consideration when you are playing that. So there is another airstrike that has come out.
Our allies
I think. Go ahead and deal with this side. So there we go. That area has been dealt with now, and this Void Thrasher will end up going down to Artanis' army. And this will not be a moment too soon, because the next set of Void Thrashers has spawned, and now Sergeant Hammer's Fortress is sitting at 1,700 HP, which is not very good. There is also now an attack wave that has come up. Scan on Amon to get vision of Nova, but unfortunately Amon has no units in that area. And now Artanis is over here with 1,500 HP left on Sergeant Hammer's Fortress. He's gonna go ahead. He's gonna go and engage this next wave. There is a solar bombardment that comes down here. Very nice positioning into the pathing area of this. Ends up wiping out that attack wave. And now Artanis is ready to start pushing into the side. And again, as you can see, these mines, you have to take it slowly. It can be very. That was kind of painful there. It can be very, very worrying to see the Sergeant Hammer's Fortress going down. If you were to charge your army right into this enemy base right now, you will get wiped by the Minesweeper mutators. So you have to be really careful with that. Nuke goes down, ends up cleaning up pretty much everything that is there in this enemy base. There are a few hybrids left over here. The Hybrid Dominator is a bit of a problem, but there will be a focus fire down on Artanis. Hybrid Dominator is a little bit tanky because of Diffusion. They're getting cleaned up now. Now a bunch of Liberators have been sieged up, and the Liberators end up taking out one of the 3 Void Thrashers now. 2 more Void Thrashers left. This one does stand pretty much no chance here. And let's be again very, very careful. Marines just out of range of that Void Thrasher. Last Void Thrasher goes down, and that is pretty much the end of the mission. Here we go. Sergeant Hammer's Fortress has been saved. Only just that. It's GG.